In a small village called Eziyama lived a tiny woman named Amma. She was much smaller than the other people in her village. They were all tall and slim, and Amma stood out because she wasn't like them. Sometimes this made her feel lonely and sad. Amma was a potter. She made pots that were strong and pretty. The village used her pots for cooking, for carrying water, and for keeping things safe. Everyone needed Amma's pots, and they told her how great they were. But that was all. Nobody ever thought of her as an attractive woman. This made Amma's heart ache. She wanted to be loved for who she was, not just for her pots. While making her pots, she would often dream about someone who would see her, the true Amma, and love her just as she was. The village buzzed with romance. Men courted women, taking them on dates under the wide African sky. Proposals were a common joy, and laughter from lovers filled the air. But in all this excitement, Amma didn't take part. The men just didn't see her as someone to love in that way. The other women didn't mind. To them, Amma was no competition. She was just the small potter who made beautiful pots. She wasn't someone to worry about when it came to matters of the heart. They felt fine that Amma was on her own, making her clay creations, while they enjoyed the dance of new love. Amma would watch, her pots cradled in her hands. She never got asked on dates. No one whispered sweet promises to her. This made her feel invisible, like she was there, but not really. It was a lonely feeling, one that often followed her as she sat alone, her small hands shaping the wet clay. One day, a new man came to Eziyama, and he was like no other man the villagers had seen before. His name was Mazi, and from the moment he arrived, he carried an air of confidence that was undeniable. His shoulders were broad, his walk was steady, and he had a strength about him that made everyone take notice. Even his hands told stories of his strength. They were rough from work, but moved with purpose and skill. He had eyes that sparkled with wisdom, and a smile that was both warm and striking. His laugh was hearty and genuine, and his voice commanded attention without seeming to try. The women of Eziyama felt their hearts flutter at the sight of Mazi. He was handsome and charming, and he had a presence that couldn't be ignored. He was like a magnet, drawing the admiration of everyone around him, especially the women, who all hoped to catch his eye and be the one to win his affection. Mazi was not just strong, he was skilled. He was a fisherman, and he brought in catches that amazed the entire village. His nets were always full, and with his help, Eziyama began to prosper even more. People respected Mazi, and everyone, particularly the women, wanted to be near him, to be part of the success and strength he brought with him. But Mazi didn't pay much attention to all the fuss around him. The women's flirting and the villagers' praise didn't seem to matter to him. He simply focused on his fishing, always working with a quiet determination. He'd rise with the sun, his silhouette a part of the morning mist, and he'd spend his day on the river, returning with baskets overflowing with fish. Mazi took pride in his craft, not the attention his presence brought. He was in Eziyama for the water and the work, nothing more. Even as the village buzzed about the handsome stranger, Mazi remained aloof. He would politely nod and smile at the admiration, but kept his distance, a lone figure against the setting sun. It was as if he was searching for something more, something that the excitement of the village couldn't satisfy. One evening, Eziyama prepared for a big harvest festival. It was a time for celebration, and the air was thick with excitement. Music filled the air, and the smell of delicious food wafted through the night. For the holiday, all the women put on their best clothes. They wore bright, shiny outfits and lots of beads that glistened by the fires. They all wanted to get Mazi's attention. They giggled and smiled, trying to win over the strong and quiet fisherman. Mazi was there, but he was off by himself. That is, until he saw Amma. She wasn't all dressed up like the other women. She looked simple but pretty, and she didn't show off. She was standing off to the side, barely noticed amongst the crowd. But Mazi noticed. Their eyes met, and he walked over to her. There was something in Amma that captivated him. Maybe it was her humility, or the depth in her eyes that told stories her lips hadn't spoken. Amma looked up at Mazi, her heartbeat quickening as he approached. As Mazi headed towards Amma, the other women took notice. They started giggling and whispering to each other. They couldn't believe that Mazi was choosing to talk to the petite Potter, who made herself so small in the crowd, while they had tried so hard to stand out. But there he was, walking straight to Amma, with a look in his eyes that was gentle and kind. The women's whispers grew louder, filled with surprise and a pinch of envy, as Mazi and Amma began to chat amongst the festivities. Mazi approached Amma with a friendly smile. "I keep hearing about the village's best potter," he said. "Could that be you?" Amma, a little taken aback but flattered, replied with a twinkle in her eye, "Well, I do put my heart into every piece of clay I touch. Maybe that's what makes them special." "Ah, so it's not just your hands, but your heart that shapes your work." "I can see that now," Mazi responded, his tone playful. Amma blushed slightly, unused to such attention. "And I've heard we have a fisherman who can almost make the river's fish jump into his net." He laughed, a sound that fit perfectly with the night's joy. "Only almost? I must be losing my touch then," he teased. Their light banter set them apart from the crowd, their connection clear through the smiles they shared. After that night, Mazi and Amma started seeing each other more often. Mazi would finish his day's fishing and come by Amma's place. He watched as she spun her pottery wheel, turning clay into beautiful pots. They talked and laughed a lot. Amma would bring him water, and sometimes they shared a meal. Mazi told Amma stories about the river, and Amma taught Mazi about the art of pottery. People in the village started to notice that Mazi was around Amma's home more and more. They spent time together almost every day, and their friendship grew into something deeper. Even when they weren't talking, they enjoyed just being close to each other, each feeling a special kind of happiness. One day, while Mazi was out on the river fishing, some of the village women, green with envy, came to Amma's house. They stormed in, filled with bitter jealousy. With angry hands, they broke Amma's pots, the ones she had crafted with so much love and skill. As they shattered her beautiful pottery, they spat out sharp words at Amma. "Stop seeing Mazi," they hissed. "He should be with one of us, not you." Their eyes were narrow and their voices were cold. They wanted to make sure Amma got their message loud and clear. Stay away from Mazi. With that, they left, leaving Amma amidst the pieces of her broken pots, her heart as shattered as her work. When Mazi came back from fishing, he went straight to Amma's house as he always did. But this time, what he saw made his heart stop. Her pots were everywhere, broken and scattered. Amma was sitting in the middle of it all, her face stained with tears. He rushed to her side, his eyes full of worry. "What happened here?" he asked, looking around at the mess. Through her tears, Amma told Mazi about the women, about their jealousy, and the ugly words they said. She tried to stay strong, but her voice wavered as she spoke. Mazi listened, his face growing darker with each word. He had never seen Amma so hurt, and it pained him deeply. Mazi was so upset by what he saw that he decided to do something about it right away. He helped Amma to her feet, and together, they walked to the village center. He called for everyone to gather around. Once the villagers had come, Mazi spoke with a strong, clear voice. "Listen to me," he said. "Ever since I came to this village, you all have been eating better. My fishing has brought wealth to Eziyama." The villagers nodded, knowing this was true. "But what happened today," he continued, looking around at all the faces, "cannot happen again. Amma has been hurt by those who should be her neighbors, her friends." The villagers looked at each other, some with shame in their eyes. "If anyone hurts Amma again," Mazi stated firmly, "I will leave this village. I will take my nets and my fish, and Eziyama will lose the prosperity it's enjoyed since I arrived." The villagers were silent. They knew how much Mazi had helped them. No one wanted him to go. After making his bold statement, Mazi turned to Amma, who stood quietly beside him. He took her hands in his, and in front of the entire village, he dropped to one knee. Amma, he said, his voice gentle but audible to all, you are the true treasure of this village. Your kind heart and gifted hands are what I cherish. Will you marry me? Amma's eyes widened with surprise and joy. Tears, different from those of heartache, welled up in her eyes. She gazed around at the gathered villagers and then back at the man who had stood up for her, who saw her worth and loved her just as she was. Yes, Maisie, she answered, her voice steady and clear. I will marry you. Cheers erupted from the village. They had witnessed the love and loyalty of Mazi and Amma, a love that had brought them all together. From that moment, everyone knew that Amma was not just the village potter. She was Mazi's chosen partner, his equal, his beloved. Mazi and Amma's story whispers a touching truth. Even in our darkest moments, light is waiting to shine through. No matter how small or overlooked we might feel, we all have the right to be loved, truly and deeply. When we choose to stand with those in shadow, to defend and love them, we're not just lifting them up, we're inviting in the light that transforms darkness into hope. Let's remember that every heart, in every corner of the world, deserves to be seen in the full light of love. Thank you for engaging with this story. It feels as though you've connected with a piece of my essence. Stay blessed, and may the paths you choose fill both you and your family with happiness. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more heartwarming tales like this one.